Recently, we got the Chaos Rising set, the newest set coming out of Japan. I think it was called the Ninja Spinner set. I like that name more than Chaos Rising, to be honest. But regardless, we have Chaos Rising. And what came with Chaos Rising, you may ask? Well, the subject of today's video, Mega Greninja EX. It's a frog, and you know you can bet your left femur I am going to play this deck. Frog guy plays frog deck. I mean, it's quite obvious, right? Like, who would think that the person who makes YouTube videos that has a frog as his profile picture wouldn't play the frog, right? I'm gonna be playing the frog, and that's exactly what I've been doing recently. And today I'm gonna be telling you how you, yes you, Margaret, should be playing the frog. So what is Mega Greninja? Well, Mega Greninja is a stage 2, meaning it has to evolve twice, or once with Rare Candy, as that skips a middle evolution. And it is a water type that has 350 health, but none of that really matters. It has 1 retreat cost, it's weak to lightning, blah blah blah. Let's get to the actual stuff, the ability and the attack, right? It has 2 things, an ability and an attack. Sometimes you have 2 attacks, and sometimes you have 1 ability and 1 attack. And usually, I say usually because Dragapult exists, the ability plus the attack is the better thing. Like, take a look at Gardevoir, right? But there are some exceptions, mainly Dragapult. Dragapult's the main exception. And the nice thing is that we have a really good ability and also a really good attack in a lot of different ways. This deck is very complicated, I think, and definitely has not been found like the best way to play it just yet. I'm going to be showing you guys a few ways how to play this deck today, but by no means are they the best way to play the deck. I think that'll come with time, and the more we, play different random decks, the faster we'll find the deck. So you should go slap in some random stuff. Go slap in a Zoroark in Mega Greninja, why not? See if that works, and if it does, please tell me first. Right, so Mega Greninja has an attack called Ninja Spinner. I'm pretty sure it's called Ninja Spinner. I keep saying the amount of damage I'm going to do instead of the actual attack. Same as like for Zoroark, I don't ever say Rampaging Thunder. I just say I'm either going to blow you up or do 250 damage to you. I genuinely don't remember that attack called. Also, Virtuous Flame, I had to read what that attack was called for a previous video because I didn't actually remember. I'm someone who just plays the game. I don't know a lot about Pokemon. I'm just happy to be here, man. But we have an ability called Mortal Shuriken. And Mortal Shuriken discards a water energy from my hand and puts 6 damage counters on one of our opponent's Pokemon. That's it, right? It has to be in the active position when using this ability, though. You can't use it from the bench. That would be a bit silly. But if you guys have been playing the Pokemon trading card game for a long time, you would know this is not the first time this ability has been in the game, and this is not the first time this ability has been on a Greninja. We saw Greninja bake. Please don't bake Greninja. We saw Greninja break with the exact same ability, and it was a really good deck, right? And it would discard a water energy from your hand and put 6 damage counters. Back then, 6 damage counters was a lot more. It's like a third of every Pokemon's health anyway, so it was kind of busted. But that's not to say this isn't good, right? And then you have an attack that does either 120 damage for 2 water energy, or does 200 damage, also for 2 water energy. But you have to put the energy back into your hand, or put a energy back into your hand. And we'll get to that kind of conundrum later on, because in my opinion, I think that's more of a positive than a conundrum. But that's basically it, right? If you set up multiple Greninjas, you can kind of switch them around and deal a bunch of damage wherever you want, and then 200 damage to some guy in the active, right? And that is really cool, right? You're kind of thinking, this is Dragapult with extra steps, right? You have to discard it. In a way, yes, but the nice thing is that you can be more aggressive than Dragapult, right? You can place more, you can use more than one ability. You don't have to just have 1 Mega Greninja. If you have 3 Mega Greninja set up and have a way to get them all around and have 3 water energy, you're dealing 180 damage before you even attack, right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And we'll mention Dragapult again later, because I feel like right now Dragapult owns this channel rather than me. I just kind of spread his propaganda and stuff. But Greninja is really good because it is a very self-sufficient attacker as well, because it only really requires 1 energy. And you might be thinking, what world does 2 energy mean 1 energy? A world where Neo Upper Energy exists, right? So Neo Upper Energy, you guys all know what Neo Upper Energy does. Neo Upper Energy does. It's been great for a long time because of Dragapult. It counts as 2 of any kind of energy while on a stage 2. And Mega Greninja is a stage 2. Absolute cinema, right? So you can attach this energy, deal 200 damage, and put the energy back into your hand to keep it safe, right? Recently, we've been seeing a bunch of hammers running around, right? Dragon Bolt hammers. So this is really nice, because we can now attack, and then say, you're not taking my ace back away from me, and put it back into our hand, right? And then they can't crushing hammers you. So we actually inadvertently play around this kind of disruption. We can't get energy disrupted because we just keep it. We're stingy. We'll attack and we'll take it back. It's like a jab, you know, you throw a jab and then bring it back, and I'm gone. You can't do anything to me, right? Disruption, get disrupted. Right, and especially in a format where it doesn't have a lot of hand disruption. Obviously, we'll have special red card, but I'll touch on that a bit later. It's not that good. In a format that doesn't have that much disruption, I think we'll have even less disruption moving forward. It's really good, because you get to put the energy back into your hand, and the next time you can just attach it again, and it just kind of keeps cycling its energy. And since you're paying new upper energy, you can actually now play extra cards in this deck. But we'll get to the other cards a bit later. For now, let's talk about the other frogs. Yay, more frogs. Everybody rejoices and parties and parades around their cities because I've mentioned more frogs. So, what do I mean by more frogs? Well, since we're already playing Froakies and Frogadiers for obvious reasons to evolve into our Mega Greninja EX, we can also play the old Greninja EX, the fighting one. And in my opinion, the fighting one is really good. It might be the star of the show. These two complement each other so well. I know I'm like throwing a claw up, these two complement each other very, very well. In fact, wait, pause. Much better. Alright, now that we are dressed for the occasion, these two complement each other very well. The one is a water type, and the other one is a fighting type, meaning we have multiple type coverage. For example, lightning types, which Mega Greninja is, weak to, are usually weak to fighting types, which is great because that covers that guy, right? On top of that, Mega Kangaskhan is a pretty good card. We can one-shot that, right? So we have a lot of really good type coverage, and then later on, if a good fire type comes out, and fire types might be good because, grass types are in the meta right now, then we have Water Mega Greninja to kind of deal with those guys. So it's a really good, kind of type coverage, and if we ever get, a baby Greninja, then we can start throwing that in there as well. And I think right now we are in a position where the deck definitely has tools. It's needed to be good, but getting those tools set up is a problem. So you see, Froakie and Frogadier are quite literally Routes and Curlier from the base Mega Evolution set. The Froakie has an attack that does 10 damage and also an attack that draws a card. Obviously, the latter is a lot better. Drawing a card is better than dealing 10 damage. Usually, I have won a game with the Froakie because I did 200 damage to a Pheasantipede and then attacked with Froakie to win the game, but that doesn't happen often. And then the Frogadier has a really good attack. I think it's like Summoning Jutsu or Clone Jutsu. One of the Jutsus, I'm pretty sure. Or Summoning Clones, Clone Summoning. Those three words, Summoning, Clone, and Jutsu, will make up the name. I just don't know which order they go in. And then for one Water Energy, it gets 3 Pokemon in your deck. And that's really good because, especially in a format where item lock is still really prevalent, you're able to kind of just set up your board with whatever you need. And obviously back then, the Curlier had this attack as well, but Iona was in the format. So you would grab 3 Pokemon and then watch them get sent to the bottom of the deck almost immediately, right? And you'd be like, damn, well, I know I'm not drawing into my Gardevoirs because both of them were in my hand. And nowadays, you get to keep those, because 90% of the time, the only disruption your opponent plays is unfair stamped, and if you're using Clone Jutsu, you're not going to get unfair stamped, right? So it is a very, very nice attack because of the item lock, because of the lack of disruption. So that is really good. So you'd be thinking, you get to get set up. But what is the one thing I have not mentioned yet? A draw engine, right? A draw engine is very important for a lot of decks, unless your name is Gardevoir and you're just broken, and you can survive on Mew EX and Pheasantipede. And that's something that we are trying to do right now. However, Mew EX doesn't really exist, so we are trying something else. So this is where I get to the part of the video where we talk about the different types and variations of the decks. And the variations are, well, quite a bit different. It depends on how you want to play the deck. So obviously, we have the Fighting Greninja, who has a really good first attack, the Shinobi Blade attack, deals 170 damage, search your deck for any card, really good. It's consistent, it's helps set up. You don't even have to take a knockout sometimes, because you can finish off the attack that you did. Like, let's say a Teal Mask Ogre-Pod, you deal 170 to that guy with any other deck, and you feel, damn, I whiffed a knockout. But you deal 170 here, you're like, cool, I can't get unfair stamped, there's a less chance I'm going to get disrupted now, I get any card I want, and then next turn I can take out this Pokemon with Mortal Shuriken, and meaning they didn't get Fez the previous turn, right? So it's a very, 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 many good things, not many bad things about that. And then you have the second attack, which is sometimes just wins you the game on turn 2, Mirage Barrage, which does 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, right? Very, very good, and even better when you consider it's on a fighting Pokemon. If your opponent benches Fez or Meowth, boss up that thing, 240 damage to that in the active, because it's weak, and then 120 to the bench, taking 3 prize cards on a single turn. Sometimes you can take even more. Let's say they have a Fez and a Meowth on the bench. You go Mortal Shuriken to the benched Meowth, boss up the Fez, knock out the Fez, knock out the Meowth, 4 prize cards, single turn, bish bash bosh, right? Very, very strong. And that's why I keep saying, if I say Mortal Kombat, pardon me, but that's why Mortal Shuriken is just very good when presented with, when actually attacking with a fighting Greninja. It's a very like counterintuitive thing, because you think that, oh, Mega Greninja is really good because Mega Greninja is really good. No, Mega Greninja is really good because fighting Greninja can complement it even more. So Mortal Shuriken, sure, it helps some math with like 260, and you know, since you're dealing 200 damage, sometimes you know you need to knock out something that has like 240, like a Raging Bolt. That helps that out. But I think it's better because you can kind of target down smaller things to set up checkmates. For example, if you're playing against Dragapult and they bench a Dreepy, you can Mortal Shuriken that guy, knowing that on the next turn, you're going to Mortal Shuriken that and just take an extra prize card for free while you're dealing with like a Dragapult inactive. So it is like a kind of portable Phantom Dive, and you can use it more than once. Obviously, you have your multiple setups. So if your opponent has, let's say, 2 Dracloaks on board, but they also have a Shaman, and you're thinking, oh, ya pierdole, I can't use Mirage Barrage to target those two guys. But if you have 2 Mega Greninjas and a boss, you can kill one of the guys with Mortal Shuriken and then boss up the other one and knock it out with the actual attack. So it is a similar kind of idea to that thing. Or if, let's say, they have Shaman in play, but you've drawn very well. Let's say you have 2 Megas and the fighting. You can go ahead and go Mortal Shuriken twice into the Shaman, knock that guy out, and then skadoosh the other guys with the actual attack, right? Mirage Barrage. So those two just work hand in hand very well, and I'm very happy about that. But like I said, we need to kind of talk about the draw engine. And right now I have 3 ways of playing this deck. The one is kind of like a thinner, more aggressive, more balanced, I guess, version of this deck, which just, it has a 2-2-1 line of the Dunsparces. The Dunsparce is probably the best draw engine in the deck. It's very splashable. Well, best draw engine in the game, sorry. It's very splashable. It kind of keeps itself alive, and you can kind of keep it if you don't need to use it on that turn to kind of help with disruption. For example, if I know I'm going to be taking a knockout and I know you play on Fair Stamp, or I know you play on Red Card, I can knock you out while keeping my Dunsparce on the board, knowing that if I get on Face Stamp, I can just at least draw 3 cards on the following turn. And if you boss up and KO my Dunsparce instead of my Mega Greninja, I know I still have a Mega Greninja in play, right? So that is quite nice. It has some nice longevity on the board, and it's also a very aggressive kind of draw engine because it gets itself off of the board, meaning it can't get targeted later on, right? Unlike something like Barrel beforehand, which Barrel, don't get me wrong, was great, but if they bossed and passed, sometimes you'd just be sitting there like, damn, shit, I can't do anything because his fat ass is in the active, right? And the Dunsparce is kind of like, if they boss and pass, you're like, well, you can't read clearly, or you have a Watchtower in play, which we'll also get to. In fact, we'll get to that now. Your Watchtower sucks, dude. Watchtower turns off all colorless abilities, which is a problem. I have a way to counter it, kind of, and it worked. I got turn 2 Watchtower, and I had a Pokepad in hand, and it worked. So we'll get to that when I get to the main chunk of the deck. Don't if you're still on the video, don't click off. So this version of the deck is, I guess, a bit more balanced. You kind of have your mouth, you have your fares, you have your liabilities, but you still have that aggression. You still have those very candies and stuff, and then you have, you know, the resident greatest player of all time, Dragapult. you have Greninja Dragapult, and Greninja Dragapult, in my opinion, is the I don't want to say it's the best version, but it feels the most solid so far in testing, because just having that passive draw engine of Dracloak that isn't stopped by Watchtower and stuff, you don't have to worry about these kinds of things, is just really good. And on top of that, since you're already playing New Upper Energy like I mentioned, you can attack with Dragapult. You're playing a 3-3-1 line of Dragapult, but it's very important to know that once you attack with Dragapult, you are entering a different stage of the game, and this is where I think this deck has like some really strong options, because you have your Mega Greninja, you have your regular Greninja, and now you also have Dragapult. And these are like the three horsemen of spreading damage in different ways, right? Dragapult has this like specific damage counters like the Sniper. You've got Mirage Barrage, which just deals 2 chunks of stuff. It's just like a hook and a cross. And then you've got Mortal Shuriken, which has like the jab in the ability, and then like a big, uppercut in its attack as well. So you have a lot of really good and solid attacks in different ways to spread damage, and they all complement each other very well. So something that happens a lot is you don't really want to use Mortal Shuriken on a Pheasantipede, let's say, that has 210 health. You don't want to go 200 with your Mega Greninja and then also finish off with a Mortal Shuriken, because that's 5 damage counters being wasted. So instead, what you can do is you can go, let's say, put 60 onto a smaller Pokemon. For example, yesterday I was playing against Terrabox, and I put 60 damage onto a Fan Rotom, and then I did 200 damage to their Water Ogerpon, and then later on, I was able to close off both of those attacks. I was able to take a 5 prize card turn, because I was able to go Phantom Dive, knock out their active, Meowth, then knock out the Pheasantipede and also the Fan Rotom, right? And with one more Mortal Shuriken there, I could have taken all 6 in the exact same turn because of a Noctowl having 40 health left, right? So Phantom Dive can come in and just close out the game. It's definitely not your main attacker, because you have to remember when you're attacking with Ninja Spinner on the Mega Greninja, you're putting energy back into your hand, meaning you can use another Ninja Spinner on the next turn. But once you attach it to Dragapult with New Upper Energy, you are no longer getting that energy back. So if you want to attack with Greninja, you have to manually attach twice, and you're probably not going to get to that part of the game. It takes a little bit too long to manually attach twice, especially in the later stage of the game when your opponent is also going to be putting on pressure on you. So you have to know when you're kind of transitioning from attacking with Mega Greninja into attacking with Dragapult, because the very easy attack, all of these Pokemon can attack in a single attachment. The only attack that you can't use in a single attachment is Mirage Barrage, but usually you'll have a Water Energy on your fighting Greninja already, because Shinobi Blade is just a great attack as well, and that can set up these attacks for other Pokemon, which is just really good, because like I said, Shinobi Blade is just a very good attack in the early game to set up damage or take a quick knockout and start setting up other things on the bench if they are not playing Unfair Stamp and stuff like that. And that's another thing. Right now, with Red Card coming out, Unfair Stamp stocks are going down. Dragapult is kind of looking at other ace specs like, ooh, Hero's Cape, or ooh, Scoop Up Cyclone, right? And it's not really looking at Unfair Stamp the way it was before, because they feel like Red Card does the same thing. But the thing is, Red Card does the same thing only when you're at 3 or less prize cards. So with a deck that has such good damage control, you never have to go below 3 prize cards. You can stay on 4 prize cards and win the game from there. You can completely avoid getting disrupted the entire game as long as you stay over 3 prize cards. And that's something that you can do, because like I said, you have so much like control over how much damage you're actually dealing, which is just so cool. Like sometimes you might not even want to knock out a Meowth in the active, so you do 120 and don't put the energy back into your hand, right? Just so you don't fall below those 4 prize cards, and then on the next turn you go Mortal Shuriken, knock out a Meowth, Boss's Orders, knock out something else, GG, right? That is something that is really strong with this deck, just being able to kind of pace itself into the exact pacing that it needs. It doesn't waste damage. It's very good at not wasting damage. So Dragapult, like I said, is very good with Dracloaks, and it can attack with Dragapult. But this is the third and final version that I think, in my opinion, it's the most fun. And I have to give credit to Miloslav. He won a regional with Mega Lopunny, and this is kind of the idea that I had from that deck. Mega Lopunny is a deck that almost has a similar idea. It likes to switch around a bunch, it does a lot of damage, and it has a lot of HP, so it also doesn't cost a lot to attack. That's the main thing. It costs 1 energy, similar to our Mega Greninja. It only costs 1 energy. Usually when you're attacking with Mega Greninja, it's just going to be New Upper Energy, right? Forget about manually attaching twice. The Water Energy is there for either Shinobi Blade or being discarded with Mortal Combat, right? That's all Mortal Shuriken. That's all they're there for. So, what is this? Why does having a low attack cost matter? Well, because it is a mega. It has 350 health, quite a lot of HP. Not many things can one-shot it. Meaning, Wally's is actually really good. And why is Wally's good? Because you are putting your energy back into your hand. When your opponent attacks you, you are just a Pokemon. You have nothing attached to you. And Wally's puts all of your energy back into your hand, but for doing that, it heals all of your damage. So the idea is against something like Dragapult, you'll attack them, put energy back into your hand. They'll attack you, they'll go Phantom Dive 200 damage into you, and then you'll Wally's all of that damage off of your Mega Greninja, right? And the next turn you can just go again, and just keep doing that. And they're just never going to kill you, because it's impossible to get through a 350 HP Pokemon when your main attack is doing 200 damage. And we're playing 4 Wallies, right? 3 or 4 Wallies, that's the count I'm saying right now. And then the other supporters are really weird. You might be thinking, we're playing 2 Lilies? Yeah, but we're also playing 2 Dawns and 4 Hildas. This deck is playing a 4-3 line of the Dunsparce, right? It is a very consistent line of being able to set up these guys and just have a lot of draw throughout the game, and that's not something that I ever struggle with, being able to draw these cards and find cards. The deck is actually really consistent. The only thing that worries me are these bigger one-shot decks. So I didn't include the Dunsparce EX because I was losing to Raging Bolt, and I don't know why Raging Bolt is so much on the ladder, but there are so many of them. And I was losing to Raging Bolt. I also lost to Hydrapple because I was kind of watching YouTube, and then Hydrapple hit me with 400 damage, and I was a bit confused on how that occurred, and then I kind of figured out that deck. So these decks that can one-shot us still, it doesn't help us. It's not a great idea, and obviously that means it kind of bypasses our Wallies, and that's the only inconsistencies in the deck, is that when we are playing Wallies. But the synergy is really nice because since we aren't playing any liabilities, right, we're only playing 9 basic Pokemon, we're playing 4 Froakies, 4 Dunsparces, and 1 Qianpao. Qianpao is there to counter the frickin' Watchtower, because obviously Watchtower kind of manhandles our deck, but it's there to counter that. Right, we're not playing Fez, we're not playing Meowth, and that's because we want to force them to go through Mega Greninjas. We want to force them to maybe take a knockout early game on a Frogadier and then be on 5 prize cards and still have to go through 2 Mega Greninjas, and that's just not easy for any deck, especially when we are constantly putting on so much pressure with Mortal Shurikens and also Ninja Spin attacks, and also healing off all the damage that they deal to us. Anyway, if you guys find any more fun ways to play the deck, or more things you think would be good for the deck, leave it down below, let me know, and have a good day. Alright, peace.